There's an important question around international cooperation. What are the kinds of international cooperation that are very important to enable businesses to take the leadership role that they should take and they need to take around greening growth in their domestic economies? The first and most important thing is the international community, I think, needs to move towards a much more comprehensive agreement around the pricing of carbon, of course, and that's a difficult conversation right now, but over time I'd hope the international community will move towards that kind of outcome. But the international community also needs to make sure that businesses can do business effectively across borders and internationally, and that's about the international community understanding, for example, that free trade, freeing up trade, the Doha round and all those kinds of things, just to take an example, are important for greening growth, because innovation, movements in capital investment, the opening up of new markets, increasing competition, all of these things actually lead to greening growth over time, and without them you simply won't get greener growth. So international cooperation just doesn't need to happen around pricing of carbon, although that's absolutely important, of course, around, for example, cooperation on science, which is one thing the New Zealand government's engaging in, but on broader terms, making sure that the world is a good place to do business, because healthy businesses will tend to be greener over time because of the pull of consumers and the pull of other businesses and government regulation that would tend to push them in that way. I know there's a new initiative called PAGE, this cooperation agreement between a number of UN agencies and the ILO included, around greening economies and greening the conversation in the world, and I think that's a very, very good initiative, and I congratulate the agencies involved. One thing I'd say, though, is it's important to have a coherent approach. It's important that as the PAGE partners think about how they can help countries in their domestic economies move towards greener growth, that they think about how best to coordinate inside those borders the activities of business, the activities of consumers and NGOs, and the activities of government. Just to take that example, anti-corruption matters to green growth, but also making sure that you don't get the wrong investment signals in an economy, perhaps crowding out private sector investment that might have otherwise happened in greening growth of those economies. So very important that the UN agencies are supporters of the domestic conversation that goes on inside the national and domestic environment, and make sure that they are supporting a coherent approach, a logical approach that will tend to lead to more business investment, more employment over time in the right kinds of areas, rather than destroying investment and destroying jobs. One of the key things that we talked about in the green jobs debate at the ILO a few years ago was the concept of greening, the idea that you move from where you are to a greener economy and greener jobs over time. That's a key role for government to play. How do you create the signals and the investment signals and all the rest to get you there over time? And that's really, I hope, what the PAGE partners would do, help this move from where we are to a greener economy, rather than suggesting that what we have now is terrible and what we'll have in the future is good, and so we should just move to the future right now. Of course, business doesn't work like that, nor do communities. They need a pathway, and that's an important part of what PAGE can do, encouraging that coherence in the domestic debate so you do get that pathway over time.